Hello everyone, my name is Meghan LeVota and I offer wisdom, tools, and support for personality integration. If you are new to my channel, I am an ENFJ, and on my channel I discuss Jungian personality types and a lot of other fun stuff. I'm going to be continuing on my series about the love letter to each of the personality types, and today I'm going to be giving a love letter to the ENFP. So, I just want to say thank you guys to the INFJs who watched this video yesterday. I have been kind of out of commission, not making as many videos as frequently the past couple months, just with the holidays and the job change and everything. And the response on that and your comments really made me feel valued. So thank you if you watched that video and you commented, because it really just reminded me how much I love doing these sorts of videos. Just a little side note, for a while I've felt like with my channel that a little self-conscious about my, thinking abilities, in the sense that I don't know how to convey the knowledge that I have in a logical way. Doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just that because I'm an extroverted feeling dominant, I'm so focused on the connecting with the person on the other end of the screen that it can be difficult to focus on that while also focusing on the logical communication and not the emotional connection. So anyway, I just am really feeling humbled and realizing that, I can do what I do best, Sorry. Anyway, now getting back into the ENFPs, since it is uncomfortable for me to talk about myself like that, especially right before I'm at this video. But, if you're an ENFP and you're watching this, it probably doesn't bother you because, I'll use that to segue into one of my favorite things about ENFPs is that they're charming in the way that they're just themselves. They would not probably even be bothered by the fact that I just talked about myself because they talk about themselves. In fact, some people might find ENFPs annoying because of how often they talk about themselves, or maybe it seems like they talk about themselves without asking about you. But the thing is, you cannot deny that they are being charming when they do this, because something I love about ENFPs is that they seem to really view their life through the lens of the hero's journey. They tell themselves the story of them as the protagonist and the hero, and then they look at all of the events in their life and they see their life as a story. A lot of ENFPs might daydream about, what would it be like if my life was a movie? What would it be like if I was the star of a novel? And they think of their lives in this magical way that is beyond what you physically see. They think of their life through that lens because they are looking at all of the metaphors and all of the different ways you can take the story. And then they view themselves as the protagonist, which means that at the end of the day, they're always on their side. They're always rooting for themselves, even if they made a mistake. If they make a mistake, at worst, they'll give themselves a pity party, but at least they're throwing the party. There are other types that don't know how to throw themselves a pity party because they're worried about being too selfish, or they don't think that they deserve it. ENFPs may throw a pity party, but hey, at least you're throwing yourself a party. That is the thing that, about ENFPs. It's like, I know that not all of you guys have developed the self-love that you crave, but no matter who you are, no matter how developed you are in your cognitive functions and what you're going through, an ENFP understands the power of stories and has the ability to tell a more magical story. They know just how gray everything in the world is. They don't look at things in black and white. So they don't look at people in black and white either. They see the good in you and the bad in you. And if they're your friend, they probably accept all of the bad in you, and they probably see all of the bad in you and can hold space for that too. They aren't just ignoring the bad in you. They see it. And they see the way that the good and bad makes you beautiful. They see that gray. They don't expect you to be one way or one thing. ENFPs, I want to say this, although I know that not everyone will agree. I want to say that I feel like ENFPs can be really great listeners. So I feel like they want to, and they're curious about the stories that other people are telling, just as they tell their own. They're pretty good at doing that back and forth of, let me go on a route. Sorry, my ENFP friend is texting me, and I want to make sure that she's not interrupting my video, so I got distracted. That's another thing I could talk about, is that they share their ideas and the beauty and the magic that they see in the world with the people around them. They want to lend that perspective to help people look at things in a different way. What I was talking about though earlier is that because they can see the gray areas of things, they can be a little bit idealistic, but they also can choose, they understand that they can choose a different way of looking at something in order to see the beauty of it. It's kind of what I was saying earlier. But they aren't very, I know what I was saying, is that they kind of can go back and forth between being like, this is my story, this is me. Yet also they can hold space for somebody else saying, this is me, this is who I am. And they eat that up. They want to know your heart's desires. They want to know the authentic parts of you. And they want to accept the dark parts of you too. In my experience, yeah, that's why I was saying I feel like they could be good listeners, is that because they're so curious about what you're saying. Now, you might feel like they're listening to you through a filter because they're NE DOMs, and they are listening to you through the lens of their perspective. They might be picking and choosing different parts of what you're saying to sort of fit their narrative or fit their story. So that can be frustrating. But even in doing so, they want to see you. They want to see all of the pieces of you. They don't intentionally try and slice and dice you. I know what I was saying too, is they don't want to fit you in a box because they don't like to be in a box. And so why would they want to put you in a box? So they're curious about all of the different layers of you, and they might do things to try and bring that out of you. In my experience, ENFPs, you guys are just really, really fun. What I love about you is your charisma and your enthusiasm for new opportunities and new perspectives is just contagious, where they can walk into a room where people aren't really talking and they're kind of just sticking to themselves, and they can bring a new discussion in or a new perspective. They can, like, maybe you might find it like a boring holiday party or something. ENFPs tend to be pretty good at making it fun, asking a question that spurs a different sort of answer. ENFPs are pretty good at small talk, even if they might not like it. In my experience, they can be very skilled at it, but they don't keep the talk small. They know how to go from small to big. And so that is a very inviting sort of attitude. It's just so easy to talk to them. Like, you never have to worry about if an ENFP is going to be able to keep up the conversation. If you ever run out of something to say, they will just throw in a new topic. And they know they don't get bored easily because they know that no matter how boring a person seems, that they have an interesting backstory and they have interesting sides to themselves. They understand human nature is full of grays, and they understand that everyone is their own person with their own story, because they view themselves as having a story. And so when you talk to them, it's like they're trying to piece out what your story is. And they love listening to it. And they love the way they tell stories too. I mean, a lot of them happen to be writers because of this skill, but the way they tell stories, you can see the little things that they pick up on about people that you might not have noticed unless you were looking to the core of human nature in such a deep, introverted feeling way. What else do I love about them? Once they decide that they are on my team, once an ENFP decides that you're on their team, I feel like they tend to be very loyal and trusting, and like you just can count on them for life. They might be pickier about people than you might think, because they can talk to anyone. They can make any conversation interesting if it's boring, but they might just be making the conversation interesting to entertain themselves for the time. Because even if they don't want to get to know you as a person, they still will want the conversation to be interesting and want to learn something about human nature from the conversation. But once an ENFP is on your side, then they're rooting for you in the same way that they put themselves in the protagonist in their story. You're now painted as a protagonist in theirs. They want the best for you. They want to see you flourish. And another thing too, it's just like with politics or any sort of discussion where there are different sides to things, ENFPs are the type of people that can hold space to different perspectives without judging you as being wrong or stupid, because they don't want to feel wrong or stupid, because they are insecure about their opinions. They know just how complex these things are, that they would almost rather validate that everybody has a perspective than bother debating about who's right, because they come to their conclusions through listening to all perspectives and recognizing that there's a valid reason, albeit an emotional reason, why what can lead someone to that. And they don't want to take a stance that's going to invalidate one side, and they don't even look at it as sides. They look at it as way more nuanced than sides. So they're the type of people that if they disagree with you, they probably are able to keep their cool and respect you and learn from you, honestly, in a way that I'm unable to do, because I get too passionate about my opinion, and I'm too impatient about, because, you know, something that I as an ENFJ have in common with ENFPs is that we both really want to only come to a conclusion if it's going to help all of the people. You know, like we're kind of idealists in that way. We want, you know, we want everyone to be happy or whatever. But like ENFPs don't necessarily need a conclusion. They can last pretty long without a conclusion, because they can entertain themselves by just being curious about all perspectives. So I think that's a beautiful thing, and it can even be a catalyst for connecting two different types of people that never would have gotten along if it wasn't for you. They can really be a bridge for things. You know, and, you know, ENFJs are bridges in other ways. Like, I feel like with the ENFP, and a thing I just want to say personally is that ENFPs understand what it feels like to feel like they're too much for this world. And that's something that I relate to, that I feel like ENFPs, out of all the other types that we really can establish a rapport on quickly, is that we feel too much for this world. We feel like we have too many feelings. We feel like our heart's about to spill out of our chest. We feel like we want too much, like we need too much intimacy, like that we have, you know, because we're both NFs, we're both idealists, and then we're also extroverts. So even though we might have different preferences, different ways of processing, we can reach sort of the same goal and struggle with the same problems in life that we come to from different angles. And so it's always really, really nice to feel like somebody relates to the position that you're in, but that they got there from a different means, because it's really helpful to then go back and forth with each other about, you know, how did they get to where they are? What sort of values do they lean on in order to be where they are? That's another thing about ENFPs, is that they are very good at telling if somebody has good character or not. They can notice all of the consistencies or inconsistencies with someone's character. And, you know, while sometimes they might be a little bit too paranoid and a little bit too judgy, many times they're right. And I think that we should honor that about ENFPs, is that many times they notice something about someone and they feel off and they don't know how to explain it. And really it's that their FI is noticing an inconsistency in that person's expression, their emotional expression, with, you know, either the ENFP's values, or I think ENFPs can even sort of notice the hypocrisy of if somebody claims to value something, yet they don't seem to be motivated by that. ENFPs will be more focused on noticing your emotional motivation rather than your emotional impact. And so if you have good intentions and you are a pure-hearted person with good intentions that makes that clear, chances are you will get along with an ENFP, and they're going to make you be a protagonist as well in their story. They just want to know that everybody's trying their best. And, you know, ENFPs really frustrate me as well, because I think that we both care about the same things, but we have such different tactics for getting there. And so that could be so frustrating, because I think ENFPs and ENFJs can butt heads because they think, well, you don't really care about this, or else you wouldn't be acting like that. And I've gotten into tiffs with ENFPs where they've thought that about me, but I think really just that understanding that we do feel like, you know, we get people probably more than they get us. We have, you know, we feel like we have a lot of emotional needs that nobody probably wants to meet, because we can just feel like too much. We can feel like, I don't know, like sometimes it could just feel like we don't belong. Sometimes it feels like we were put on the wrong earth, and that, you know, as idealists, we want the world to be better than what it is. Sometimes you might feel like, what is wrong with people? But then other times you might think, oh my goodness, people are so beautiful. And we both understand that sort of feeling of the back and forth of like really wanting to help people, really wanting to invest in humanity, yet also feeling like rejected by them, feeling like you're putting in more of an effort than them, feeling like you don't know how to say no, feeling like you don't know how to enforce your boundaries because you don't feel good enough. All of that, like, my heart goes out to you. If you're an ENFP, your story does matter. You do deserve what you want, and you are good enough already, just the way that you are. And I know that it might be hard to trust that all the time, because it might not seem to matter, because it might not seem like that's enough to get ahead in the world. But if you continue to be yourself, you don't have to be anybody else. You could use your strengths of your heart and your charm. You can use your ability to look at the black or look at the grays, not just the black and white. Look at the nuance of humanity. Look at the nuance of human emotion and study it. You guys can be quite the philosophers and really great judges of character. You can lean on that to be who you want to be. You can tell stories. You can create art. Like, you know, similarly to what I was saying in the INFJ video. Obviously, I want to say I believe in you and that that's worth it. But really, I want to just say that it's very stressful to be an NF, but also an intuitive first. Because when that's the case, you're so out of touch with the sensing world that your ideal is all you see. And that can be suffocating because you're not living in your ideal. You're living in the real world. And that dissonance between the real world and your ideal is very frustrating, and it can almost prevent you from acting on your ideals and your creativity. But the world needs your creativity, and you were put on this earth for a reason to bring what you have to offer. And stop comparing yourself to thinkers and sensors. Like, seriously, that's something that's frustrating. Is like, I feel like even though to an extent as an FI user, you really understand your emotions and you can stand firm in who you are and your values and share who you are. But also, it's like, sometimes I feel like you guys can shut down and be resentful and just think, yeah, well, it doesn't matter anyway. Similarly to how I was talking about INFJs. There's a parallel there because you guys are shadow types. It's like, I think I just want to tell you that your NE and your FI, your first two cognitive functions, they will work for you. You don't have to do somebody else's strategy. Your strategy will work for you because that's the one that you were given with, and that's your skill. And yeah, you could do it. I love you. I appreciate you. My life would not be the same without ENFPs and the amount of growth and warmth that they bring me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what type you want me to do next. I am going to be giving all the types a little love letter. If you're interested in my typing services or my mentorship, that is all linked below. Subscribe if you want more. That's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a wonderful rest of your day.